Hello, Tim from Fair Play Now on the 8th of June 2023. So I've got my latest interview from the Better Way conference ready. It's going to be following on after I've spoken this little intro for it. This time it's with a lady called Jemma Cooper, who first of all is actually the media liaison manager for the conference. She was the lady who very kindly supplied me with a press pass for the weekend, so I've got to thank her for that. But also she does a lot of other things for the World Council for Health as well, which she kind of explains a little bit in the interview. She talks about the WCH, the Better Way conference, and plans for the future and what the WCH, World Council for Health, are all about. But very interestingly, she was until pretty recently an employee of that honoured institution, the BBC, and saying that slightly tongue-in-cheek, of course, but she worked for them, and she gives some very, very interesting insights as to what was going on there during the nonsense of the last 3 years or so. I think you'll find it quite entertaining, quite interesting. And also, if you wondered where the BBC were during those London marches that we went on, well, it turns out that some of them were right there marching alongside of us, because Jemma was doing that. And in fact, it was one of the reasons why she had to leave the BBC. Apparently there were complaints made about her for doing that, and she may well have been sacked. I think she actually kind of jumped before she was pushed, by the sounds of it. But yeah, very interesting, don't you think? So there were actually people in the BBC wanting to explore what was going on, asking questions, but they weren't, and they ended up having to leave. So I'm going to let her continue explaining things, which she does way more than I can. So carry on watching interview with Jemma, the ex-BBC journalist and Better Way conference organiser, following. Tim from Fair Play Now, thanks for watching.
You're Jemma, and you work for the WCH, World Council for Health. How long have you been working for them, and what do you do?
Well, I haven't actually been working for the World Council for Health for very long, just a few months actually, but I met Tess at a conference I was hosting in Glastonbury earlier in the year, and Tess was the keynote speaker, and I was the host, and so she got to see me in action as a host and a presenter, and I got to hear even more detail about the work the World Council for Health does. And I said, look, I'll help you in any way I can, because I wasn't actually working at that point, and I just came on board with a view to offering my skills, and now I have a paid role as the producer and presenter of the weekly live stream, the World Council for Health live stream, where I interview campaigners, journalists, activists and health professionals from all over the world. And also this weekend I'm hosting a panel, co-host with Shabnam Palesa Mohammed, panel 4, and I'm also the international media liaison manager, so I'm dealing with all the many media, of which you are one, here at this event, and trying to keep everybody happy so they all get their interviews and they've all got places to do the interviews, and so it's a busy weekend, but that's some of the many hats that I've got on at the moment. And I also look after press and PR and that kind of thing for the World Council for Health.
So you're obviously very passionate about the cause. Why are you passionate, and why should other people be interested as well?
Well, I knew from the start that there was something not right about the last 3 years, and at the time I was working for the BBC as a news journalist, producer and presenter, and for the first time in my career I saw what I thought was a prestigious news institution go into propaganda mode. I'd never seen that in my career before in my life, even with Brexit, which was the most hotly debated issue of the last 50 years in this country. There was checks and balances to the argument. For every 4 you had to have an against, you had to fill out forms at work about who you'd had on. With this story in the last 3 years, with this narrative, one narrative. Anyone with a different voice, silence. I'd never ever in my journalistic career of 25 years seen anything like it. And it got to a point where I was just seeking voices outside the official narrative, been involved in the alternative scene for about 10 years now, and know quite a lot of people who were talking about this years and years ago. And I went to a lot of anti-lockdown rallies to hear different voices that weren't being given a voice on the media, mainstream media. And my employer, the BBC, found out about that. As a member of staff, you're not supposed to go to protest rallies. It all got a bit dicey at work. My colleagues didn't like what I'd done. They went to the tabloid press about me to try and destroy my reputation, so I decided to leave. As simple as that. I thought, I'm not staying here, I'm going. I got out.
I don't blame you. The BBC has just been, as far as a bystander like me is concerned, has been totally weird. I mean, you have these massive protests in London, probably the biggest London's ever seen, and total silence from the BBC.
Yeah, absolutely, because then you'd have to start scratching the surface of people that didn't agree with what was going on. What's so wrong with that? That's called reporting, it's called news. When they did the Million Man March not the Million Man March, that was in America, but the Iraq War, which had more than 1 million people, that was everywhere. It was on every front page of every daily newspaper in the country, and it was on every major news channel. It didn't change anything, we still went to war, but at least it was covered. And the stark refusal of the mainstream media to talk to people who have different opinions shows its inherent weakness. Because what's so wrong with talking to someone with a different opinion? The way I was trained as a hardcore newspaper journalist, that's journalism. You bring a rounded debate to the story. That hasn't happened. Journalism, as far as I'm concerned, in the mainstream is I wouldn't say dead, because now there are some papers asking questions. The Daily Telegraph here in the UK is asking questions, a little bit too late, but at least it is asking them. But yeah, so really that's the reason why I wanted to get involved with an organisation like the World Council for Health. It's not afraid to ask questions, and more importantly, the World Council for Health is not afraid of healthy debate. We all work together, there's plenty of us in the core team, and in different countries around the world. We don't all share the same opinions about everything, but we have healthy debates and we remain friends, We don't run off to the tabloids because somebody doesn't agree with us and has gone to an anti-lockdown march. We have debates about the virus, and is there a real virus, is there not? We have debates about Trump. I'm not on board with that, but a lot of my colleagues are. But we're all still friends, and we go for a drink after work. That's how it should be. Healthy adults having healthy conversations, not censorship. It doesn't come from a position of strength anyway, so the more you censor, the more people sense your weakness, I think.
Yeah, I quite agree with that. And coming back to this weekend, where do you see the WCH going? Where are they headed? What's their role in the future? Is it to take over from the WHO?
No, because the WCH is not like that. It's not a one-size-fits-all organisation. The idea about the WCH is complete decentralisation. So we are already seeing World Council for Health in South Africa, World Council for Health in the Philippines, and both of those will have a very different approach to their country's World Council for Health as the World Council for Health here in the UK, because their culture is different, their approach to healthcare, traditional healthcare is different. It's not the same as the UK. So it's about giving people globally the power to take back the power for themselves, and it's not about telling people what to do. We're here to facilitate a network of people globally to support each other and help each other grow. And I do believe the World Council for Health will grow, because I'm seeing the level of interest in the conference this year. It's only the second year. I mean, if this was a commercial music festival and there's the strength of this growth, it would be winning awards. If this was a commercial, corporate business and not a non-profit organisation, it would be winning awards left, right and centre, because the first 2 years of business for any organisation is where you're likely to fail and go under. And this is just growing and growing and growing. I mean, you've seen the crowds here today. It's absolutely legendary. So I think the growth is coming with this. more and more people are coming on board. You know, the aim for this event is to grow it and move it outside of maybe a hotel environment and maybe some kind of festival environment, so we can all be outside, get vitamin D instead of being inside talking about vitamin D, you know, that kind of thing. But I'm very new to it, and I'm not involved necessarily in the strategy. I'm here to help, really.
Well, that's probably a good point to leave it. Thank you very much. It's just so important to get the word out there, and you're obviously playing your role in that. So am I, and I'm proud to help out.
Everyone's got their unique skills and talents to bring to the table. I think one of the most important things I've learned in the last 3 years is, like, you can look at people up on a stage, or you can look at someone campaigning, or you can think, oh, I'm not as good as them at that, but you're as good as what you are at what you're doing. So bring your own uniqueness to this movement and bring your skills to the table, and that's how we're going to change the world.